Fingers crossed, third reboot is a charm. Obviously, you know what movie I'm going to talk about today, right? Spider-Man Homecoming, of course. It only took until the 6th Spider-Man movie for Sony to decide to bring in Marvel, so this is like their first joint collaboration to keep Spider-Man in the MCU. If you couldn't tell by now from a lot of the background, Spider-Man's always been my favorite superhero, so I'm not the only one that's excited that they're finally bringing in Marvel after Sony burned the Amazing Spider-Man into the ground. Plus, Tom Holland's brief cameo in Civil War was pretty awesome, so everybody, including me, was waiting to see him shine in his own film, hopefully. This film picks up after the events of Captain America Civil War, so Peter's kind of trying to adjust to going back to normal high school routine, while he's also being monitored by Happy Hogan. And he really struggles because he wants to prove to Tony Stark he doesn't need to be babied. But then he finally runs into the supervillain played by Michael Keaton called the Vulture. And that's pretty much the ultimate test to see if he's ready to be a superhero or not. For starters, thank goodness they finally stopped doing origin stories for these movies. Like, everyone knows the origin story. So they finally moved on. You don't see him get bit by the spider. You don't see Uncle Ben die. It kind of just moves straight on from that, and that's fine with me. Plus, it's cool that Tom Holland actually looks like someone who would be in high school, unlike Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is not really something we've seen too much of before in the past, due to the fact that he pretty much has no idea the limits of his powers, and he screws up trying to solve crime constantly. Most of it's due to the fact he has no idea how to use the Spider-Man suit that Tony Stark made him, which I think is pretty funny. And he does a really good job just being a normal high school kid with problems. By the way, I know a lot of people kind of were upset that they shoehorned in Robert Downey Jr. into the movie, but he's really not in it all that much. He's still great and all, but he's really just kind of Spider-Man's mentor, and he kind of just oversees him from afar, him and Happy Hogan. Tony Stark's really just there to make sure he develops into a solid hero, you know, and doesn't make the same mistakes that he did when he became Iron Man. There's actually a lot of well-known actors in this movie, not just Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. I mean, you got like people in small parts like Logan Marshall Green, Bokeem Woodbine, Hannibal Buress, Donald Glover, and they all do really well. But of course, like every Marvel movie, I always have to talk about the villains. It shouldn't really be a shock to anybody, pun intended by the way, that the Shocker's in this movie, because I mean, he was leaked forever ago through promotional material. And I'm not going to really spoil anything about him, but like he's kind of underwhelming, and he's not really in the movie that much. You'll see what I mean when you see the movie, but I'm not going to talk about him that much because it's kind of spoilery. But in my personal opinion, Michael Keaton as the Vulture is probably one of my favorite Marvel villains that they've ever made. Almost any role you put Michael Keaton in, he's really going to do well. And he's like the perfect villain for this movie, and actually has a solid backstory and plenty of screen time. I mean, even his suit's awesome. It's a great update over the green feather suit that he wears in the comics, although I would have loved to have seen Michael Keaton wear that at least once. And the suit looks really badass in every action scene in this movie. All the action scenes in this movie are fast-paced and amazing for the most part. I mean, there are some negatives to this movie. I mean, I'm kind of being nitpicky, but I wish the suit wasn't so much CGI all the time, because I'm just used to the classic Spider-Man, I guess, where he's in the suit a lot of the time, you can tell. I do get that the suit's more technology-based, though, since it's a Tony Stark creation. So, I mean, I can understand some CG, but I'm just, like I said, I'm just nitpicking. Sometimes Peter's friend Ned gets kind of annoying too, but I mean, overall, I liked him still, so I'm not really going to give him a negative connotation. I wasn't too big of a fan of Zendaya's performance in this movie, though. I mean, a lot of the stuff they give her to do is kind of annoying and cringy, but she's not really in the movie that much at all, so I mean, it's not a huge deal. So to give my rating for this movie, I'd have to give Spider-Man Homecoming an A-. This is a very good start to this new Spider-Man franchise that Marvel's helping Sony do, and with Tom Holland locked in for so many future films, I'm really looking forward to see where this universe is going. At least in the MCU, I'm not too keen on a lot of the Sony films, although I am looking forward to the Venom movie just because I like Tom Hardy. But we'll see how that goes. But anyway, thank you for checking out my review. Feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe. You know the gist. But until then, I will see you guys later.